This video is kindly brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to build an online presence. Okay, I think everything's there. Hi guys, welcome here. If you're new here, my name's Bethany. I'm the girl behind Well Up Knits, and today is a very FO heavy episode. This is a long anticipated episode for me because I've been wanting to share all of the things that I've knit my baby over this year. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about everything that I've been knitting on over the past 9 months plus even, because I actually wanted to make this video before Arthur was born, but today he's turning 2 months old. So actually, maybe it's better that I do this episode now because he's been able to wear some of the things that I have made him over the last couple of months. So he's gotten some wear out of it. I know like what I like about some pieces, what I don't like about other pieces. So as you can see, this is a pretty full basket right here, and I'm excited to talk through all of these pieces with you guys. But before we get into all of that, I do want to tell you a little bit about the sponsor of today's video, Squarespace. Before we continue on in this video, I just want to tell you a little bit about Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to build an online presence. With Squarespace, you can design a website that is entirely unique to you and your needs. I know that many of us knitters are interested in selling our own patterns and showcasing our hard work through a creative blog. Squarespace is a great avenue for that, or any other creative content that you might want to share. Squarespace is hands down my favorite platform to create and update a website. It's what I use to create my own space, wellupknits.com. What really set it apart for me is the vast library of templates that they have available. They look really professional and are much more elevated than something that I personally could have created myself. At the same time, I love that I can easily change up the color palette or add extra design elements that really help tell the story of my brand without any coding experience needed. So if you're interested in giving Squarespace a try, go check out squarespace.com for a free trial. You can play around there, and when you're ready to launch your website, you just click the link in the description to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. So thanks again, Squarespace, and let's get back to our chat. So I think the first one that I'm going to talk through is this bonnet right here. This is the Ankers Bonnet by Petite Knit. I will say, you guys know that basically all of these patterns are Petite Knit, so I'm going to be very repetitive today. But this is the first thing that I ever put Arthur in because this is a newborn bonnet right here. It was actually a cast on that I wasn't really planning to do. I was thinking about doing some kind of bonnet, but this one was just not on my radar until, I had just looked for some kind of quick project that I wanted to do, like I said, on a whim, and I had some leftover yarn that I wanted to work through. And that's how this one came to be. What I really love about this bonnet is just the different simple design techniques that make it just, I don't know, it's special. Something about it. The Ankers design is just a 1x1 rib with these little ridges right here, but it's simple, but it's a lot of fun to knit. It's simple to knit. But it adds a little something extra to this bonnet. And it's not too frilly. That was something that I was kind of concerned about with bonnets. Not that you really have to care all that much. It's a baby bonnet, who really cares? But I wasn't really sure if we were bonnet people. But I really like this bonnet, and I think it definitely made me want to knit more. I haven't knit more. I knit a hat, but not another bonnet, and I would definitely do it in the future because it's just such a quick project that uses basically no yarn at all, and you can get really creative with the different design motifs. And yeah, I really loved how simple this I-cord edge is, and then these little I-cord strings to kind of tie underneath his little chin. One thing that I was kind of concerned about was the length of the I-cords. If I ever did one in the future, I would definitely make it longer, but I would also caution anyone who wants to make a newborn bonnet definitely go a little bit longer with the I-cords than what's said in the pattern, because I followed the pattern instructions and I just found that it was a little too short and it was getting close to his mouth. Because I was also tying it loosely underneath because I didn't want it to be too tight under his chin. So that was just something that I noticed. But other than that, the Knitting for Olive that I used, this is some leftover brown nougat that I used in my Seaside Sweater, which I'll get to. I think it's not necessarily the softest, but I found that he is not irritated by this wool. It's a merino wool, so it is probably on the softer side. That in mind, though, it's not necessarily labeled as a baby yarn. If I would have gone back, I would have, if I could do it all over again, I would have done cotton merino from Knitting for Olive instead of the merino, like just pure wool. But that was just not available at my local yarn store, so I got the merino instead. But yeah, Ankers Bonnet, really love it, would definitely knit it again. I would definitely knit it in a bigger size than the newborn size if I knit this for a newborn baby again in the future. So this next one right here is the Monday suit, which is a top-down raglan onesie with this really fun button placket detail. You can see that it goes kind of like in a C shape, which really is what this little button placket right here is actually the reason why I wanted to knit this onesie. I thought it would be a really fun construction. I thought it looked really cute as well. And it is. This is such a cute onesie to have. Very simple. I chose this nice gray color, again, with Knitting for Olive merino. And these fun little buttons, I was really happy. It was so difficult to pick buttons for all of these projects. I think that was the most fun, but then also the most challenging part is to figure out like what buttons are gonna work. I'm happy with these. I think they're good, but it's also difficult because I don't want them to be too big, and it's hard to find these smaller buttons. I think this was like 12 millimeter, and in my local shops, it was just difficult to find those. So I'm happy with what I found. I think the black, it's not as fun. I could have gone for something a little bit more whimsical, a little bit more baby-esque, but I think this definitely makes the garment look nice and simple. A nice minimalist design and something, easy to pair with everything. I mean, whatever, this is a onesie. So this was a lot of fun to knit as well, but I definitely got my fill of onesies, and I don't find them to be as fun to dress up in than some sweaters. So this one, I've definitely been putting Arthur in this. It's definitely an easy one to get on and off because of all of these buttons. Design-wise, I really love this pattern. I thought it was really easy to follow. A lot of fun to knit as well. However, I don't really see myself knitting this one again in the future, and that's just because of what's more fun to put baby in. I have a lot of onesies that are store-bought onesies that are just much simpler to dress Arthur into, and while I think this is really cute and I do really like putting him in it, and I have been putting him in it, he does get wear out of this. It's not something that I want him to sleep in. Not necessarily because I'm nervous about the buttons or anything, like them popping off, but this just seems a little bit nicer. The handmade items that I've made, I just feel like they're a little bit more special occasion. And if I'm gonna dress up Arthur in things that are for like a special occasion, you know, take the time to kind of dress up and plan an outfit for him, a onesie is not necessarily something that I would go for. Just for me. Like it is fun and it's really cute on him. I really love the way it looks. But yeah, just for what I would knit in the future, this isn't it. My pregnancy brain definitely was still active when working on this. I feel like early on in my pregnancy, I was very space cadet, did not focus very well. And that was definitely apparent when I got down to the feet of this onesie, and I actually knit them in the wrong needle size. So I knit them in the smaller size that was for the ribbing instead of what was meant for the body. And, you know, after blocking, I really don't think you can tell. I mean, kind of. You can kind of tell. Only if you know, though. I think if I didn't realize, if I never knew, I don't think it would be that obvious to me. But since I do know that I knit it in 2.5 millimeter needles, the gauge is just so slightly off. You can kind of see where I separated for the legs. It just goes in, it cinches in just a little bit more than it should, which is just funny. But yeah, I'm happy with how this turned out. I feel like the fabric is beautiful. The Knitting for Olive Merino, it's a nice garment. And again, I've put him in this multiple times and he seems very cozy, very happy to be in it. So that's a good sign that this fiber worked out well for this project. I just don't think I would knit onesies again in the future. I have 2 more to show. And I think that those are my last onesie projects just because if I'm going to dress him in a onesie, it's going to be for bedtime. And the knitwear that I have, that I've made, I just feel like it's a little special occasion, you know? And it's not something that I dress him up in all the time. Definitely for during daytime where, you know, if I want him to look really cute during the day, if we're going out somewhere, I'd rather put him in a sweater, take the time to put him in a sweater, even though it is kind of a hassle to get it over his head. I'd rather take the time to do that than put him in a onesie. So that's just something for the future. And maybe you might want to consider if you're knitting baby items. But we will move on to the next onesie. This one I never showed as a completely finished object because I was procrastinating on it so much. So this is the Sunday suit. And it's another top-down onesie, but this is knit with a circular yoke. So you can see from the yoke. It's that little sunburst. I guess that's what I call it. I'm guessing that's why it's called the Sunday suit, but maybe not. I think she also names her patterns based on the days when her children were born. So I don't know. I think that's why the Monday suit is the Monday suit. This is the Sunday suit, and it is super sweet. This is knit with Rowan yarn, superwash baby merino, cash soft merino, baby cash soft merino. I knew it was like some kind of combination of those words. And this is also a really nice fabric. This one definitely feels a lot more durable than the Knitting for Olive merino. This is definitely, like I said, more special occasion, more delicate of a fabric. It just feels like, ooh, do I want to mess that up? And then this one is just like, oh yeah, this is thicker, much thicker. And it definitely feels just more substantial. I don't know, but it makes a really great suit. And as you can see, it is complete. And the reason I was procrastinating on this is due to the fact that I wanted to add in a zipper. And you can see that I did it, you guys. That was something that I was really worried about. So the Sunday suit originally has a button placket straight down that you just button up. But after I did the Monday suit, I was thinking, you know what? I want to try something different. And I heard that zippers were really great on baby onesies. It's just easier to get them in and out of. So I wanted to give that a try in knitwear. I've never seen, or I haven't seen a pattern. Then again, I didn't really look that hard. I haven't seen a pattern with a onesie that is made for to have a zipper. It would be something to look into. But I just decided to do that modification on my own. So what I did was modify the number of stitches at the center. And of course, I think it's worked as you go down. So I just reduced the number of stitches for the button placket and only knit those in stockinette so that I could easily sew on the zipper. I'm really happy to report that it worked out. There were moments of doubt, for sure. But as you can see, this can unzip and zip just fine. So I wasn't really nervous that the zipper wouldn't sew in properly until I didn't really think through my personal modifications, like what I needed to do. I didn't think through all of the steps of the garment to think, okay, how is the zipper going to affect the rest of the construction? I thought through the yoke and I was like, okay, that's gonna be a simple fix for the yoke. Just do the stockinette stitches at the center and reduce the number that's there. But with the onesie, I didn't really think through how I adjust that part of the construction to, also account for the zipper, like to make it easier to sew that in. So I just did it as normal, which I was kicking myself after I did that because I didn't really realize or think about how that would affect me sewing in the zipper until I finished the legs. To be honest, I was done with the whole piece before I realized, oh, maybe I should have changed that. So you can see here, for the buttons, it overlaps. Like that's part of the instructions. The crotch just overlaps and you join those stitches together, like knitting them together. And that's fine. It actually worked out okay. But what I would have liked to do is not knit them together so there's not this overlapping, because there's just that little bulge that is kind of awkward. And it was awkward to kind of sew it in, but I'm happy that it worked out just fine. So this is really fun. Really cute outfit. Again, the fabric is a lot more substantial and it definitely feels more durable. And it's mixed with cotton, I think. So it's less of a delicate fabric. It definitely is something that you could throw in the wash easily without worrying, which is important for baby items. It doesn't bother me all that much though, because I'm okay with hand washing some outfits. It's really not that big of a deal. He does go through a lot of laundry, but it's not really that much that it would be such a hassle to keep up with. Okay, so another one knit in Baby Cash Soft Merino by Rowan is the teddy suit right here. This is the very first thing that I cast on for baby, for Arthur. And they are just, it's still the cutest thing. It's just a simple little overall style, like romper type onesie. And this is just super cute. So when I found out I was pregnant, this is what I wanted to cast on first because I thought it would be a good unisex option. And in this color, it would just be cute. I really debated putting the face on. So this one, originally, the center has an embroidered teddy face on it. I just decided not to do that. I'm just much happier with it being a very simple garment that I just also didn't really want to mess it up. I know I could have taken the time to learn how to embroider and do it properly, but yeah, I just didn't feel like it. So this is just a faceless romper, and I think it looks very, very cute. So yes, this is knit up, like I said, with the Rowan Yarns Baby Cash Soft Merino. I think this will get a lot of wear. It's too big for him now. I think this is around the 6-month size. So yeah, closer to the new year, I think he'll be able to fit into it. I haven't mentioned this, but he is already a very chunky boy. He is definitely wearing items that are supposedly above his age. He's fitting into 3 months, and like I said, he just turned 2. So that is surprising. Although not really all that surprising, because what I read before is that, baby clothes are just all over the place. Some brands are too big, some run really small. So you never really can tell. The advice that I would give, though, is to probably spend your time knitting maybe 3 months plus, because the 1 to 2 month sizes, I think, unless you're going to really dress him at the start, which I did, if you want to get the most out of your wear and also not be too nervous about how baby is feeling in the whatever you knit him, like a sweater, for example, definitely knit something a little bit larger, because I also like that oversized look on babies. So like an oversized sweater. I mean, it's cute. It doesn't have to be all like very tight fitted. And that's definitely something that I learned now that he's here. But that's not related to this outfit. This right here was a lot of fun to knit. It was definitely hard, and it took me the longest out of all of them. This one was on the needles for a couple of months, but that was just because I was sick. This was, like I said, the cast on when I found out I was pregnant, 6 weeks pregnant. I wanted to cast it on, and then I got so disgusted by knitting. I was just like, okay, I can't do this. It's making me feel absolutely physically sick. So that's just a funny memory with this piece as well, is that I was suffering so hard, and I had gotten through one leg and I stopped, and I had only done one leg for probably the first 2 months. And then the next month that I decided, okay, I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to get started again, the rest of the body just flew because I wasn't disgusted by yarn and knitting needles anymore. I think it was like the motion, but also just the idea of working on something while I was sitting and watching TV or a movie. I just felt nauseated by that. Instead, I just wanted to lay down and not do anything at all and kind of just stare off or close my eyes. Yeah, so that's just a funny memory associated with this one. And I definitely can see him getting a lot of wear out of this. It's just too cute. It's just too cute. Okay, what's next? The next thing, is my Seaside Sweater. This is the first one that I made. This is a 1 to 2 month size. So like I was just talking about, this is adorable. And I'm really happy to have something so small, like a little sweater that's so small. But like I said, my boy is pretty chunky. So he's basically outgrown this. He can still fit into it, of course. But even with the Italian bind off, my bind off is a little tight. So in particular, I'm just nervous about the bind off around the belly, because he's got a little bit of a belly and I just don't want it to be too uncomfortable around him. But this is definitely probably my favorite thing that I've made. I just really love the color combinations. This is, again, knitting for olive merino, the blue and the brown nougat that I really love. And this combination I just think is so, so sweet. And he really looked so cute. When he turned a month old, I put him in this sweater. I wish I would have put him in it a little bit sooner, but babies only look fragile. They are not that fragile. They are built for new parents, I think. But even still, I wasn't very confident enough to kind of dress him up. And also, I was kind of just so tired. I feel like I didn't even remember that I had knitwear for the first couple of weeks of his life to dress him up in, because I was just going from one thing to the next. You know, with a newborn, that's just kind of how it is. You're going from like one feed to the next feed, or yeah, there's just something going on all the time. So I just didn't have the luxury, the time to kind of dress him up. So I'm really happy I have something this tiny just for the memories. But if we're talking practicality, it's not the most practical thing. Value-wise, I think that you could spend your time more wisely by knitting larger sizes than knitting something so small. I feel like that, it's a great keepsake. I think if you're knitting a gift and you want someone to get a lot of wear out of it, definitely consider going for something much larger. But if you're knitting for a gift and you want them to have it as like a memory of how small their baby really was. Definitely knit the smaller sizes, the newborns, the 1 to 2 months. Definitely worth having it as like a keepsake item. And that's definitely what this is. Although he has worn it a couple of times, so it's not all for nothing. Okay, so another Seaside Sweater, because I really enjoyed that project so much, and the finished object was just, it melted my heart. So I knew I needed another one. And so I made one that was a little bit larger. And I think this one should be around a 4 months size, but I do knit on the tighter side. So I think this fits more like a 3 month, and he fits it right now. So this is the second Seaside Sweater that I made. And this time I knit it with Superwash Merino from Alongabec Anna, which she makes some beautiful colorways. And I really loved this combination right here. This is Celadon and Louvre. So the greenish bluish color, and then a nice like white gray. And I really love the combination here. And it was just fun to make a second Seaside Sweater, because I definitely love sweaters over onesies. And yeah, it's fun to dress babies up in little sweaters like this. Something that I didn't mention with the other one, but with the Seaside Sweater, you see right here, there are the 3 buttons. There's plenty of room for the neckline. I will say that the neck opening looks really small, but it isn't. I mean, it's perfect for a baby's little neck. Even still though, I definitely always leave the top unbuttoned just to be on the safe side. So I would almost want to just take this button off, since I just don't get any use out of it. And then it's so close to his mouth that could be kind of a choking hazard. So something to consider that I never considered before. But yeah, other than that, this is a perfect little sweater. I made it twice, so that means I really love it. And I do really love the way he looks in it. I think it makes a really cute outfit. The sleeves, I think I was just not paying attention. Since I made it the second time, I think I got overconfident and just was doing my own thing. I definitely think I made the sleeves too long and decreased too much. So the cuff is a little bit tighter than this one here, and you wouldn't think that that would be the case because this is for the smaller size. So you can even see the way that the sleeves look. They just look much different. And I think that's my mistake. I think I made them too long and too narrow. So, but even still, I mean, it fits. So that's all that matters. So the Seaside Sweater is definitely one of my most favorite makes, but actually, after remembering the Friday sweater for babies, this one is my favorite, hands down. But I didn't really think about it because he hasn't really gotten much wear out of it yet. Although I put him in it today for this video, and he looks so precious in it. Again, this is so this one is for like 4, 5, 6 months, around that time frame. And it's much more oversized. But after putting him in that today, I think this is probably like the sweet spot for his size and his age right now. It makes me very comfortable as a mom. Seeing him wearing something a little bit more oversized, not worrying like, is the neck too tight? Are the arms okay? Like, this oversized fit definitely works for me. And I just really love this sweater. So this is knit with Knitting for Olive Merino again in the marzipan color, brown nougat, the gray left over from the Monday suit, and then also that blue left over from the Seaside Sweater. And yeah, it just makes some nice fall feels. I just thought this would be a really fun color combination, and it turned out better than I could have imagined. This broken rib stitch just looks so cool in the finished object. It's definitely more of a hassle to knit, but in such a small size, it actually does fly off the needles. And I think this is a perfect size project, that it's not too big, that you can really enjoy the broken rib, because I feel like if you knit on broken rib with something a lot larger, you can get over that real fast. And I think that would really like stop you with the project. But for something so small, it was just very enjoyable, and I would knit it again, which is something surprising to me, because I was just thinking that I would be so sick of broken rib after this. But again, since it's so small, it just made me enjoy the experience instead of me sitting there wanting it to be over kind of thing. So I just think this is the most classic pullover that a baby could have. And the combinations are endless. The example sweater, the sample, just has a main color and a contrast color. You could do multiple colors like I did here in small stripes. You could do really large stripes. The combinations are endless, and I would totally knit this one again. There are so many sweaters though that I would love to knit for Arthur. So I don't know when I would be able to knit another one, but it's definitely knit worthy in the sense like you can knit this multiple times, I think. And it would just continue to be a very fun project. I'm just really happy with the final result of this. And after putting him in it today, he's going to be wearing it so much more often now that I know that he can actually fit it and it's not too big for him. I'm going to definitely be putting him in this so much. And this is probably going to be one of the pieces that he gets the most wear out of. So let me skip by and talk about a piece that was more sentimental for me. I really wanted the finished object of the Selma sleep suit, which is this full-on garter stitch suit that I thought would be really useful because I was having an autumn baby. And I had this really large skein of yarn that was from my grandma. She had given it to me, and I had thought that I had enough for the Selma sleep suit. That was very naive of me because it actually turned into a jacket. So this is something that I left you guys hanging on. In one of my knitting podcasts, I kind of showed where I was at, how I had finished all of the yarn, all of Mima's yarn. And I was only able to really get an awkward length jacket with what I had available. And it was such a unique yarn that I couldn't really replace it. I couldn't find something that would really work well with it to kind of make the entire suit as I kind of envisioned it to be. It would be a very strange color block situation if I would have just gone with another colored yarn of a similar base. So I decided to just make it into a little jacket, and I used actually some of the hand-dyed yarn that I did with some onion skins. So you can see it right here. This is the little jacket. It's very cute. It's definitely not what I envisioned, but I'm happy to share this finished object with you guys because I just feel like it needed to be finished, and I'm really happy that I got to use every little bit of that yarn. It was very sweet to have been gifted that yarn, and I knew immediately when I had it that I wanted it to be something a little bit more sentimental and kind of like a little heirloom piece. So here we are. We have a little hooded jacket based off of the Selma sleep suit. You can basically follow the instructions halfway and then knit the sleeves and you're good. Yeah, so we got the hood here. We have a nice little body, and I finished off the edges with that hand-dyed onion yarn. So yeah, this yarn right here is so much more rustic than the yarn from Mima, but it's just around the cuffs and the bottom. So I don't think it should be too irritating, but this is definitely large, and I think it will fit him maybe when he's like 7 months or something like that. I don't know. This just seems very, very large. These buttons right here, I had on hand, actually. I think I had purchased them for a sweater for me, and I ended up going with another option. So I'm also happy that I completely stash bust from this entire project, because I did mention that stash busting is something that I'm really trying to prioritize right now. So not having to purchase anything new for this project was also a joy, something that I was really proud of. So we got these nice little caramel buttons right here. They match the yarn very nicely. And while it's not exactly what I had envisioned for the yarn, I am just happy that it got used and is in a project that hopefully he'll get some wear out of. But again, this is more of a sentimental piece than it is something that I see to be very practical. So we'll see. Maybe when he gets a little bit older, try it on, see how I can work it into his wardrobe, because it's too light to really wear outside, and kind of too heavy to wear indoors comfortably. So I just don't know how much use he'll get out of this, but it's still quite cute. Oh, this cardigan. This cardigan is the best. Another favorite of mine. This is Carl's cardigan, and it is very similar to the Jenny jacket if you're familiar with petite knit patterns for adults. This one's very similar because it has that smocking stitch detail. This is something that I cast on just before baby was born, before Arthur was born. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to work it up, actually, or finish it before he got here. And surprise, surprise, I was so enthralled by this project that it just flew right off the needles. And I mean, it also helped that it was 4mm needles, which is probably the largest size needle that I had used throughout my entire baby knitting journey. So that definitely helped with this project. So I've mentioned this when we were chatting, but this was a project that I really wanted to have for Arthur. It was something that I wanted to knit up for sure when I was starting to have kids, but it was one of those projects that I actually procrastinated throughout the entire journey because I was just, thinking, is this going to be fun to knit? Is it going to be relatively easy to knit? Is this going to be too complex for me? But really, we shouldn't be afraid of stitch patterns, honestly. I don't know why I get intimidated by stitch patterns sometimes, because the reality is it's just knits and purls, and you create this really beautiful texture and slip stitches and that sort of thing. So I am happy that I went ahead and decided I want to do this. I love the texture. It really wasn't that difficult to knit, and it looks difficult to knit. That's the thing. So now I have a nice, elevated, elegant, finished object for his wardrobe that he can wear. And I just think that it will add a lot, and it'll be a lot of fun for him to wear as he gets older, because it's definitely something for him when he's closer to, I want to say 7, 8 months. He might get away with this at 6 months. I think I did the 6 to 9 month size, so he'll definitely be able to fit into this at 6 months, going at the trajectory that he's going now. I think he will be able to get a lot of wear out of this even sooner than 6 months. So I'm very excited for that. I think over the holidays, we'll give it a try and put him in it and get him to wear that. That would be really sweet. But it's just a really cute grandpa cardigan. I mean, babies look like old men anyways, so why not have a little grandpa cardigan for him too? I just think it's super precious, and this has been a lot. This was so much fun to knit. It was so exciting to put it all together, and it made me want to do more with smocking stitch. I think it looks really great. It looks really complicated, but it's so easy to work up, and a lot of fun too. This is the alpaca wool yarn from Senna's Garn, and I would not recommend this, even though it was a recommended yarn for the pattern. I personally just wouldn't knit with it again for baby. I would actually go with something a little less fibrous. Fibrous? Is that a word? There, you can see here that there is just little strands that are just popping out, and I'm fine with that for my outfits, but to put him in something like that when he's so young. It was something that I was hesitant about casting on. Like even when I was starting the project, I was wondering, is this the right fiber? Should I go with something else? But I just wanted to use the fiber that was in my stash instead of buying something brand new. So I went with this fiber and I'm okay with it. But if I were to knit this again or knit any other baby projects that might call for that or that would be suitable for that alpaca wool, I just wouldn't go for it. But that's just me. The color is great though. I think it looks really cute and classic and absolutely perfect. So, okay, more texture. And the last wearable item that I made for Arthur in this baby knitting journey is my Ingrid sweater. I almost forgot what it was called. And this one is massive. It's still very big. And I knit the 6 to 9 month size for this. And it just turned out so large. And I think it's just due to the fiber that I used, which is a superwash merino from Rowan Yarn. This is what was available at my local yarn store. And I wanted to do something that was more superwash to give that a try. I'm just not a fan with knitting with superwash yarn because it's so unpredictable like this. I think when I work with the natural yarn, I get a more predictable fabric. The project seems to be the predictable size, but for whatever reason, this one just blew up after blocking specifically. I just don't know why that is. I haven't thrown it in the washing machine though, so maybe that would change because some of you did say that might impact the final fit, the final product. As you can see, it still cinches in a little bit even after blocking because I did a very light block while I was on vacation. So this was a vacation knit, but I did go back and do the Italian bind off on the cuffs and on the body. So I think it's finally finished. When I showed it to you last, it was not finished at all. There were still, I had done like a rough bind off and then there were ends to weave in. Now I've done all of that. I went back and did everything for this video and I made sure that it all looked very nice. This is just a sweater that everybody's making, so I'm sure you're very familiar with it, but this is the baby size because I just thought it was the most cute for a little baby. And this blue is definitely not something that I normally would go for. I usually would gravitate towards a more neutral tone or a warmer tone, but something about this blue was really calling my name throughout my pregnancy. I just really loved, this blue color. I just thought it was really beautiful and it was a lot of fun to work with. And of course, the Ingrid sweater was just so much fun because of how much texture there is, all the different stitches. It really just makes you fly through the knit because you're always doing something different. And that was the most fun part about this project. And I would definitely knit it again, probably something neutral. If I were to choose it next time, I would go for something a little more neutral. It's just a lot of fun. This color is just a lot of fun. The texture is just a lot of fun. It's perfect for a baby. So I absolutely love this. This was something that I wasn't sure if I was gonna love or not, but it definitely made me want to knit it for myself, which is surprising because when I first saw the design of the Ingrid sweater, I was like, nah, not for me. But after knitting this one up for baby, it's definitely on my mind, but we're not gonna talk about that right now. Yeah. Definitely worthwhile, perfect gift. I think this is gonna be great for the holidays, even though it's way too big for him. I honestly think that this is gonna be good for him when he's a year old. Not any sooner than that, at least before I put it into the washing machine. I'm gonna try to put it in the washing machine and see if that will change anything. Okay, so the last thing that I made for baby, which we've gone through a lot right now, so I'm hoping that this isn't gonna be too long, but this is something that I made an entire video for, so I felt like bringing her last was acceptable. This is Isabelle the giraffe. It's just a little hand-knitted stuffed animal with the Wild Knitted Animal Friends book. I've talked about this at length. But I did just want to give a little update on her, and she is Arthur's best friend. They have been introduced, and she's huge for him right now, but he does love looking at her and staring at her and figuring out what it is about her that he loves. He's just in a phase where he just looks at everything. So this has been a lot of fun to kind of work on him with his eye movements and his head movements and tracking items. So she has definitely been a little friend of interest, and it's been really cool to kind of bring that out during like our playtime, tummy time kind of stuff. I'm really happy that I spent the time to knit up a stuffed animal for him, and I definitely have plans to do more in the future. So yeah, that's Isabel. I talked about her a lot, so I just wanted to bring her out, but I didn't really want to kind of go on like I did. I will definitely link those other videos for you to check out if you're interested in hearing more about her, and then about some of the other items. If there are other videos that I've dedicated to those, I will definitely add those in the description as well. I'm exhausted. I am so exhausted right now. I mean, thank you guys so much for joining this journey with me. I've definitely shared a lot of these pieces before. It's really cool to kind of go through all of them now. It's exhausting to go through all of them right now and see how much time and effort, like what all my time and effort kind of turned into. It's really cool to have these physical handmade items that I can dress my baby into. It's just really sweet. I mean, motherhood's amazing, but being able to have hand knitted items like this make it even better, I think. So as a knitter, this is just, it's really cool to be able to do that for my son, my firstborn child. So yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for joining and listening to this entire lineup of knits. If you liked this video, definitely give it a like. I would really appreciate that. And then if you want to stick around, definitely subscribe. I would love to have you here. It's amazing how big this community has gotten over the last year or so. So I just thank you guys for being here and spending some time with me. So that's about it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.